What's going on, guys? And thank you for tuning back in today for another deck profile. We have regional champion Shannon Cole, my friend, man. Like PX3 #1. Yeah, sorry, I just had to say that. So, my friend, you were piloting Trafalger Law through the day. You just recently went 8-0. So, fire it away, my friend. Like, why did you choose Law? And yeah, smash out the matchups. Let's go.
Yeah, so I'll go through the matchups first, like who I versed and what I versed. It was a pretty long day, 8 rounds, only one undefeated at the end, 8-0. Throughout the day we versed lots of really good opponents, and we versed the meta deck. So we versed one Dofi was at the start. I think he'd come 20th, like in the last one.
Yep.
We'd versed 3 Whitebeards and 3 Katakuris. As well as 1 Zoro in the finals. So Whitebeard and Katakuri was the matchups that we were kind of looking for. Dofi was a good one as well. Zoro was the one I wasn't looking forward to when it was in the finals, but luckily we still clutched it.
Zoro was your rough matchup, right?
Yep,
Like, yeah.
And also, I think round 3 and 4, those 2 opponents had come first in previous events, and so had won serial Luffy. So even from the get-go, we were versing really good players. So I think that just shows how this deck can perform in this meta. It's really good. This particular one is really easy as well. And the reason it's good in the meta actually is because you're seeing a lot of Whitebeard and Katakuri, and I think this deck has a favoured matchup into them. Against Zoro it's a bit rough, but you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to play. Every deck's going to have something that's not great against. But the good thing about Law is that it can clutch games. So even though Zoro is the deck that it's weak against, if you pull the nuts, you pull the crack, then you can beat Zoro. So that's the benefit of playing Law.
Yep.
Whitebeard's probably like positioned really well because it beats Katakuri and Zoro, I think. So you might say that's like the best deck, but then you still have to verse Whitebeard as Whitebeard if there's out there. Whereas when I'm playing Law, I get to verse Whitebeard, and I feel like that's favoured. So that's why I think Law was a really good choice for this event. And so, yeah, we can pretty much get into the list.
Awesome.
Now,
all right, let's get into the list.
So this is the list I took. Before I get into anything, I'm going to say I think this is a really easy Law deck to play. And the main reason for that is you'll see there is 0 events. So previously in Law decks, you'd see a lot of Radical Beams, or you'd see like Jet Pistol, things like that. And like they're great cards, but the problem is you get times where you're not seeing the cards you need to be able to use your Law effect. And if you get your Law effect off, you're going to win games. So you take those positions out, you add in more high costs, so you're at the 5 costs, and then you also add more low costs, which means your searches are going to hit more, and you're going to have those times where you just need that one extra character to place down, you're going to get them down, especially when you're getting things popped like by 5-cost Marco or anything. And to be honest, with so many blockers in the deck as well, you be in a lot of position where if your opponent won't swing high, like they're going to be swinging low anyway because you've got so many blockers, like it's not efficient for them to swing high. So you never need those Radical Beams or anything, in my opinion. Like the 2k counters are going to be enough.
Okay, because I was going to ask, what made you go down the route for not using any event cards? Yeah,
and that's pretty much it. It's really just to get that the leader effect off. Like you need to have 5 characters on the field. You need something to place down to be able to switch into something, and you want something to switch into. So if you've got nothing to switch into, it sucks. If you don't have the 5 characters on board, it sucks. So by removing those events, you get to put other things in. So you'll see in this deck there's a lot more of the 5 costs that you can switch into, and there's a few more low costs that we can get into. So let's go card by card now.
Okay.
So Bonnie, Nami, and Dadan, 4 of each. That's just real standard in Law decks now. You need those. Searches are your prime thing in a Law deck, because you're just placing everything on the field. And so you definitely want to run all of these. When you're mulliganing, you really want to look for at least 1 red searcher, I would say. And ideally a Bonnie. If you don't see a Bonnie, if you get like a blocker Law, that's fine. But generally you want to get some amount of search in there, or if you get like 2 Bonnies, that could be alright as well. Really mulligan for your searches.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a soft rule. Then I'll move on to these cards. So Brook's a 2k counter, it's searchable by Nami. Its effect is crazy actually, because you're paying 2 and you get that to your leader, or a character for free, and so you get that body for free. So it's like you're spending $2 on something and you get the body for free. It's great with Restand Law later on, or like if you're playing anything else, so you can just give that extra Don without, and get the spot on the board to use your leader effect without actually sort of paying anything.
It's very resourceful. Yeah.
Sunny's something you don't see in a lot of decks. I played 2 of him because he's searchable by Dadan as well as Nami, and I think that being searchable by Nami is really, really good, because sometimes you don't have a Dadan and you need just one low cost, and if you hit Nami and you hit like a Zoro, like Zoro's too big and you can't change into something. So I think having another low cost on top of your Brook is really important.
Yeah.
Makino's a 3 of. I had a 4 of, but I cut her for some other things. Some decks are running even less than her, but I think she's really good. She's a 2k that has a great effect. You can get it off and return her. All the 2Ks that have great effects, that like you play them and then get them returned, it's really insane. So like I think 3 of, especially because you run the 2 Sunnies now, like you're gonna have so many times to use her. Oh, and another thing on Sunny is you don't have many characters that aren't slash in this deck, and Sunny is a 3k that is not slash, which is really good against Buggy in the Zoro matchup. So it's really good to have another 3k attacker there.
Okay.
We run 4 Tony choppers and 4 Capones. So that's 8 small blockers in total. A lot of decks you now see them cutting Capone, but I think because this one runs no defensive events, it's really good to run the 4, and it's also another 1 cost, so there's turns where you just need that 1 extra card to get down. And it's great against the current decks, because like yellow, even it, like, because they don't have anything to pop it, red, like they have to play 5 cost marker to pop it now, you don't have these small poppers anymore, so these blockers actually just win you games. Like sometimes you have, like you're low on hand, you play 2 and they've only got like a couple attacks, and they just, for 2 Don, you've soaked up 2 huge attacks.
Yeah.
Time is probably one of the best cards in the deck, in the game actually. 2k counter, next 2 is absolutely insane, because if they've got a good body that they want to keep, you play it, like you neg something, and then all your 3k attackers, your 2k attackers, you can start buffing them up a little bit and attack them, and like they either have to just let it go, which is the smart thing to do straight away. If they start countering, you just keep attacking, you do like 5 attacks at something that's negged, and they just lose their whole hand.
Yeah, Atama's just very solid. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, why one Nico Robin?
Originally in the deck, I think we ran 0. I was running 0. We've been changing the deck since Wednesday. That's when I first started it.
Yep.
And originally I had 0 Nico Robin, 0 Vista, because I was like, I don't think that there's many that small things to pop anymore. And then I upped it to 2 Nico Robin, 0 Vista, and that was working well. But I was finding the problem with Nico is she's only really good really early. She can be searched, which is great, whereas Vista, you can play him at any time and always get his effect off. So we bumped it up to 2 Vista, and then you sort of want 1 more popper, but you can't go too hard because you really need the Straw Hat searches. So it's really good to have like that as an option to get off Nami. And the poppers are really good, I think, even against decks that don't have small things, because of Otama. So you can Otama something and then pop them. You get a lot of value off of it.
Yep.
And I mean, they've got 1k counter. The other reason that I added these in, I originally didn't have them. I think I had more Sunnies. I was finding I had so many turns where I just had Don left over, like at the 3 or 4 Don turn, or like I needed something medium to play, or I needed something good to bounce off of Trafalgar Law's ability. So I put them back in. And of course, you've got your 3 Zoro there as well. You can go more Zoros. There's the 3/6, but I think they just sometimes become dead a little bit. I think 3 is a good number there. It doesn't really feel as dead. Always gets you that extra attack.
I mean, Zoro is always that solid card that you need for that rush, and you know, when you're in those situations, which is really nice.
And on Zoro, I might go back to like, so these 3k characters. The really good thing about them is if you value Zoro as an extra attack for 3 Don, these guys, if they're on board and not doing anything, they're 2 Don for an extra attack. So really, when you're playing the game, look out for these guys, so how many attacks you can get in. Obviously not against Whitebeard. I mean, unless you neg something against Whitebeard, but like, you can buff them, and like 2 Don to get an extra attack in, if you're going to put it back in, is great. And it's really important to do this as well, because if you put 2 Don on something when you're at 5 characters attack, get the attack through, it's now rested, and now they want to swing at it because they don't want you to keep getting value off of it. Yeah. And so it turns it into like a little blocker. Like I've swung with a Brook or a Curly Dadan or a Sunny, and because so you've applied more pressure. Now they need to like get rid of your pressure, so they swing into it instead of my life, and I'm like, thank you, don't have to throw a card, and now I've got that space free. Because otherwise I would have had to discard something. So now I've got that space free to play a blocker and then like do like a Trafalgar Law or something afterwards the next turn. So swinging both gets you aggression, but it also ends up like giving that defense as well, because they're going to want to swing at it.
Yeah. So moving on to laws?
Yeah, I mean, the other like best card in the deck, so 5 cost blocker Law, like this is the card you want to be seeing off your Bonnies. Like if you see all 4 of them, like you don't care. Like it's so good. Having blocker, like it can either give you a free like 1k if they do a 5k attack. It can buff you. It can be a late game blocker if they're like running Edward Newgate or something. Just you've got that real defense there. Like it's like an extra life on the board. You can also use it to go aggressive. It's supernova, so it gets restood by Restand Law, and the bounce back effect to play something else is absolutely insane. You can use it on your searches to get more cards if you have nothing else to do. You can use it on Zoro to get another attack in. You can use it on Vista to pop something else. You can use it on Brook to get an extra 2k Don onto something if you need that. Or you can play something like maybe a Makino and rest it, and even though that would now be a problem, you can then bounce that back and play a blocker. So you get the 3k on something, and then put her back in your hand as a 2k, and then get your blockers out. So like he's really insane because you get all your 2ks down, but then your 2ks come back to your hand because of him.
Yeah.
Like in one turn with your leader effect, you can put two 2ks that are on the field back into your hand. So it's insane.
Yeah, it's a good bounce.
Yeah. Trafalgar Law, the one that restands, is a really, really good card. A lot of decks run 4. I cut it down to 3 and added 1 X-Drake, and the only reason that I did that was I was finding the games where I had lots of red in hand, and it was really good low costs, but sometimes I'd draw like 2 or 3, like 3 of these, and swapping into a 6k just felt so like why am I playing this? Like you need something extra. I think that extra X-Drake just gives you something, like if you pop a 4 cost, sometimes that can kind of bring you back.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty standard. Luffy and Basil, you weren't really seeing in O2. And
yeah, you only played 1 Luffy in this as well.
Yeah, originally I had 2 Luffys and 2 Basils. I think I cut 1 Luffy because I think I only had 2 Zoros, so I put him into another Zoro. I think that spot for Zoro is better because it can be bounced by Trafalgar Law, as well as it's a little bit cheaper in those situations you need something cheaper. It's only 1k less, but you miss out on the the unblockable. I think that Luffy is actually really cracked. It won me like a few games, I think. One thing I didn't really realize before this tournament, in the finals, it doesn't have Slash, which is really important against the Zoro matchup.
Yep.
Because not only does your leader have Slash, not only does your Trafalgar Laws have Slash, not only do your Zoros have Slash, but also your Dadan. So many things have Slash that it's really important to have another character that doesn't have Slash against those buggies. But yeah, we cut it down to 1 just because it was a little too much. Another really important thing about Luffy, I think you definitely need it in lore. Sometimes people don't run it. I think you really need it. It's a great option when you have Bonnie. So a lot of the times you swing, you tap Bonnie, and you are looking for that 1 blocker lore because you don't have it. And if you miss blocker lore, then your Bonnie is sort of sitting on field and you don't have anything to get it back. So you can't swap to a green, because if you swap a red to a green, your Bonnie's still there. So if you search Bonnie, you miss your blocker lore, but you get Luffy, then you can swap the Bonnie to Luffy, and it's a pretty solid play.
Okay.
We talked about X-Drake. Basil Hawkins, I think, is probably the MVP of the day. I was thinking of cutting him down to maybe 1 before the event, but I was like, no, we're going to stick with 2, because I think Whitebeard is going to be a really popular deck. We versed 3 Whitebeard today, and it came in absolutely clutch. I can't remember if I played it for all 3, or at least 2. And when you get Basil down against Whitebeard, it's absolutely insane, because you can do huge attacks and restand him for free. And when it goes to their turns, unless they're playing Ace on their turn, they're not going to be able to kill it, because you've usually got blockers or counters. It's at 6k, especially their 9-cost turn. When they play 9-cost, if you've already cleared some of their characters, their leader's 8, so you only have to counter for 3, or you can use one of your 1-cost blockers, and he just sticks on field, and you just attack, clear their board. And if you completely clear their board, then you can go for their life as well. And it's cracked against the Marco as well. If they've got a Marco, then it's a free restand.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much the deck. There's a few more important things about each card, but I think the main thing is you've just got all these low-cost characters and high-cost characters, which makes lore a lot better. I think it's really solid, and it's a lot easier to play, because those times where you have events in hand and you've got to play really tight so that you don't miss that one. You need 5 on board, you can't have 4 on board. So those times where you just need 1 extra character is really important, or the 1 extra bigger character swap in is really important. Another, maybe just one tip I'll throw in for lore is if you don't need to attach all your Don onto something, so a lot of the times you do all your plays and you leave 2 Don at the end to swap into something. Most of my games, if I don't need to, I'll leave 3 Don. If I've got a 1-cost in hand, and that's just in case they hit a trigger, or there's an event or something that removes one of my characters from the field, then you can play one of your 1-cost characters and still get your lore leader effect off, because if they hit a trigger and you can't use your lore leader effect in that turn, you're completely dead. So if you need it to win the game, you need that 1 Don on something, then go for it, but if you don't, then sometimes leaving it up's good, and depending on what color, you should know what the trigger events are in that. Okay,
yeah. Beautiful, man. So the deck profile is actually looking really nice. Looks like you got a solid choice here. You've done extremely well with it. Yeah, this is it, guys. So congratulations again, Shan, on the win for today's regionals. Any shout outs before we head off?
I mean, the PX3 team, so they're really good training. So we got, Jimmy behind the camera, we got Ethan, we got Nick and Kenneth. So all the boys are really good practice. And I want to give a shout out to just the Perth locals in general. Like, I honestly think our locals are more crapped than, and like they're harder than regionals. Honestly, but like I lose more in than I do on, like I lose more in regional. So I lose more in locals than I do in regionals. So I think Perth's cracked. So a big shout out to everyone that.
We have a very strong community
so a big
here.
Shout out to everyone in Perth for coming to play, supporting. Like I really appreciate whenever people like congratulate me and stuff. So big shout out to Perth. And yeah, thank you.
Also, always our sponsors, Eternal Magic, Beyond Odyssey there. You guys do amazing for us. Thank you very much, guys. So if you guys like this, remember always to like and subscribe. Hit that bell to stay notified, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, Shan.